We are getting new details this morning about the young man shot and killed by ICE in Maine. He has been identified as 26-year-old Joan Sebastian Guerrero. According to a neighbor, he was a young father who worked hard to provide for his family. Now, the events surrounding the shooting, they are unclear this morning. Very unclear. A doorbell camera captured part of the gunfire.
Oh, is that a car?
So after the shots were fired, presumably, video showed Guerrero's car going around in circles as officers tried to stop it. Another video showed officers pulling his body out of the car. The Department of Homeland Security released a statement saying the officer opened fire, quote, fearing for public safety. Maine Senator Angus King spoke to CNN.
There's a lot of law, John, on police officers shooting at vehicles. And the bottom line is you have to either fear for your own safety or the safety of others. And so far, we haven't seen evidence of that.
All right, let's get right to CNN's Maria Santana, who is in Biddeford, Maine this morning with the very latest. New details emerging, but still, Maria, so many questions.
Yeah, that's right, John. And what we do know is that another family and another community has been left reeling today after another deadly ICE shooting, one that comes only 2 weeks after a similar incident in Texas that claimed the life of a Mexican man. And what we know is that neighbors have identified the victim as 26-year-old Joan Sebastian Guerrero, a young husband and father from Colombia who, according to immigrants' rights groups here in Maine, was authorized to work in the United States. He had authorization to be in the country. Now, what we have heard from authorities, from Senator Angus King, is that Guerrero was not the target of the warrant that the ICE agents were trying to execute. And according to witnesses, what they have told us is that around 7 a.m. Guerrero was leaving his home. He was on his way to work, was in his car when he was stopped by these ICE agents. After that, the situation really gets confusing, murky. We don't know what happened, what escalated this situation to the point where the agents opened fire. We don't know whether the shots happened before or after the car started moving. We did see that video where a white sedan was moving very slowly, and then you see an officer approach the vehicle. He is hanging on to the door. It looks like he's trying to open it or get into the vehicle. Then we see officers in another disturbing video pulling a limp, bloodied body outside of this car, handcuffing the man as he's taken out of the car. And then CNN did obtain video of the agents rendering first aid to the victim. Here is what one witness told us about what they saw happen. Let's hear.
He started coming down the street, again, driving, I don't know how, and then the SUV hit him again. He tried to, and then that's when he stopped. ICE agent got out, tried to open the door and had a difficult time, but eventually opened it and pulled the guy out. His face was bloody, his head was bloody.
And John, after about 12 hours, DHS did release a statement. They said that ICE was conducting targeted surveillance on the last known address of an illegal alien with a final order of removal. An illegal alien departed the residence in a vehicle. ICE law enforcement attempted to conduct a vehicle stop. The vehicle attempted to flee the scene, and fearing for public safety, an officer discharged his weapon. And now, they were not wearing body cameras, as the senator said, so we do not know what happened leading up to the incident. What we do know is that protests have broken out here in this community. There's a small memorial that's set up right here on the intersection where things happened in honor of the victim. He was a father of a 3-year-old, and according to some witnesses, she was at the scene still wearing her pajamas when her father was shot. John.
Oh, no. Oh, and you could hear, I think, the emotion in the neighbors' voices describing what they saw there as well. Got to be very troubling for the people of that small community. Maria Santana in Biddeford, Maine. Let us know when you find out more. Obviously, details in this are hard to come by. Thank you.
We have more now from CNN's Jason Carroll, and another warning: his report contains more disturbing video.
State and federal authorities are investigating another ICE-involved shooting, this time in Biddeford, Maine. Maine Senator Angus King saying he spoke to DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin, who shared that the victim of today's federal law enforcement shooting, identified as a 26-year-old Colombian man, was not the target of the warrant. This in contrast to an earlier conversation in which Senator King shared that Secretary Mullin told him the victim was the target. Witnesses tell CNN shots rang out early Monday morning, around 7:15.
I was getting my DoorDash and I thought I heard a car backfiring, and asked the DoorDash driver if that was a car. He said he didn't know, so we kind of went down to the corner and saw a bunch of vehicles pull up at the same time, marked and unmarked.
I heard a rapid fire of gunshots afterwards. I got up and went to the window, and that's when I saw the little white car being driven in a circle, like it was circling the intersection with two officers pressed up against his driver's side door.
Video from the scene shows officers hanging from the side of a white Kia sedan, and moments later, a second video shows agents and vests providing aid to a man on the ground. The victim had work authorization in the United States and was issued a Social Security number, that according to the Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition. We are grieving, we are furious, and we will not allow his death to be treated as routine or inevitable, the organization said in a statement.
No one should be shot by ICE under circumstances like this. We have also heard that the individual's family was nearby and that a young child was there. A lethal killing is never justified, in my opinion, in a case like this. But we don't know exactly what went on. We don't know if the individual had a weapon. None of those things have been made clear to us. We've asked for a thorough investigation.
According to the Maine Attorney General, the man was attempting to flee in a vehicle in the direction of the officer before he was shot. This comes just days after another fatal case in Houston, where officials say an ICE agent shot and killed a 52-year-old Mexican national. Both shootings have sparked protests and calls for accountability across the country, with many questioning ICE's tactics during traffic stops.
So we've got CNN national security analyst Juliet Kayyem here. And Juliet, just so I can give people a little more detail about what happened, the Maine Immigrants' Rights Coalition has said that the man was leaving for work when this shooting happened. And they also said that he was authorized to work in the U.S., like he, as in, had a social security number. Federal officials haven't confirmed that. Can you talk about what questions, I guess, how does this work, right? We saw with ICE sometimes if there's a shooting, you're not going to get access right away to investigate, like states are at odds with them. So how could this work?
So I'll say how it should work and then how it's likely to work, just given the standard operating procedure by this Department of Homeland Security. When there is a killing like this that that is at the best narrative of it is that it was a mistake, right? Because what your audience needs to understand is that even if everything were true, that he was fleeing, that he wasn't authorized to work here, that he wasn't obeying orders, you still don't kill. Good law enforcement doesn't kill in that situation. ICE kind of knows that. In their statement in the morning, they don't even say anymore that he was a threat to the law enforcement agent. They say he was a general threat to public safety. That could be true of any of us, right? So I suspect that ISIS and DHS are going to do what they always do, which is blame the victim and hunker down. And then what you're going to see, in particular, this is interesting because of the politics of Maine right now. I know it was your political story last week. You're going to see very aggressive local and state efforts to try to understand and unearth what happened, because obviously Senator Collins voted for this massive increase by ICE. So this will get political very.
Even if that wasn't going on, there's protesters already hitting the streets, already calling for ICE to get out of their town. You know, people didn't really know that while things were going down in Minnesota, there was a movement against ICE in Maine as people were frustrated with the enforcement that they saw there. I just want to play for you a witness who spoke to the Associated Press, because I think this is the kind of story that can spread quite quickly in this situation. Here he is.
He started coming down the street, again, driving, and I don't know how, And then the SUV hit him again to try to, and then that's when he stopped. ICE agent got out, tried to open the door and had a difficult time, but eventually opened it and pulled the guy out. His face was bloody, his head was bloody.
This is not some wild-eyed protester telling this story, right? And ICE was supposed to be, we were told, operating differently in the aftermath of the killing of those citizens in Minnesota. Is it operating differently, or is this kind of revealing that there's a little bit of a standing operating procedure here?
Yeah, so Secretary Mullen, the new Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, vowed for changes in what was going on. They saw the political protests across the aisle regarding Minnesota. I think a better way to put it is they just went stealth. That you had Secretary Noem, the previous Secretary of Homeland Security, with her sort of, behavior that got a lot of bad attention. What you're seeing here is the same activities, the same lack of training, the same lack of standard operating procedures regarding, in particular, vehicle engagements. Because what I'm seeing, from my viewpoint, I'm seeing unidentified ICE agents masked. So we only know that they're ICE now, who put themselves in front of vehicles. So then all of a sudden you're not de-escalating, you're escalating. All for what, right? I mean, the guy's in a car. You can get him a different way than shooting into the car. So I think this is a test of whether we should believe the new secretary in terms of training, in terms of how they're scaling ICE. But right now, we're not seeing much transparency, not seeing much from him, certainly not seeing much from the White House, which continues to push a numbers game, right? They just want the numbers. Well, the numbers are getting you these deaths. It's the numbers. It's the push for quotas that is not aligned with the public safety threat that is getting these killings.
Juliette Kayyem, thank you so much for talking with us about that potential investigation, what's going on.